Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Don't forget to subscribe and check out my other socials for more. Enjoy. Cobwebs clung to the rafters, and the musty scent of old memories filled his nostrils. Andy's gaze landed on a weathered trunk nestled beneath an old quilt. His fingers trembled as he lifted the lid, revealing a treasure trove of forgotten garments. Soft fabric spilled out, silks, satins, and delicate lace. Andy's breath caught in his throat as he lifted a flowing skirt, its deep purple hue shimmering in the faint light. Without thinking, he held it against his waist, marveling at how the fabric draped over his legs. "What are you doing?" he whispered to himself, but he couldn't bring himself to put it down. Instead, he rummaged deeper, uncovering blouses, dresses, and even a pair of heels that looked like they might fit. Andy glanced over his shoulder, half expecting someone to catch him. But he was alone, safe in this secret sanctuary. With shaking hands, he slipped off his jeans and pulled on the skirt. The sensation was electric, sending shivers up his spine. He twirled, watching the fabric billow around him. For the first time in his life, Andy felt right, complete, as if he'd discovered a missing piece of himself hidden away in this dusty attic. A noise from downstairs startled him. "Andy, you up there?" His mother's voice carried through the floorboards. Panic seized him. Andy scrambled to change back into his clothes, stuffing the skirt and other items into a backpack he found nearby. "Yeah, Mom, just cleaning up some old stuff." "All right, dinner's almost ready." Andy's heart raced as he climbed down the ladder, the backpack feeling both heavy and thrilling against his back. He caught his reflection in a hallway mirror, cheeks flushed and eyes bright with excitement. Over dinner, Andy couldn't focus on his mother's chatter about her book club. His mind kept drifting to the treasures hidden in his room. As soon as he could politely excuse himself, he retreated upstairs. Locking his bedroom door, Andy dumped the contents of the backpack onto his bed. In addition to the skirt, he'd grabbed a silky blouse, a floral dress, and even some costume jewelry. His fingers traced the delicate beadwork on a necklace, marveling at its intricacy. With trembling hands, he changed into the outfit he'd cobbled together. The skirt swished around his legs as he moved, and the blouse felt cool and smooth against his skin. Andy stared at his reflection in the full-length mirror, hardly recognizing the person staring back. He looked beautiful. Different, yes, but in a way that felt profoundly right. Andy experimented with his posture, the way he held his arms, how he tilted his head. Each movement felt like a discovery, unlocking a part of himself he'd never known existed. A soft knock at the door made him jump.
"Andy, everything okay in there?"
He cleared his throat, trying to keep his voice steady.
"Yeah, Mom, just trying on some old clothes, seeing what still fits."
There was a pause.
"Oh, find anything interesting?"
Andy's heart pounded. Did she know? Could she sense the change in him? "Maybe," he said cautiously. "I'll let you know." "All right, honey, don't stay up too late." As her footsteps retreated, Andy let out a shaky breath. He caught his reflection again, noticing how his eyes sparkled with a newfound confidence. This was just the beginning, he realized. A whole new world of possibilities had opened up, and he was eager to explore every inch of it. The next morning, Andy woke early, his mind buzzing with plans. He had a few hours before work, and he knew exactly how he wanted to spend them. Locking his bedroom door, he pulled out the clothes he'd smuggled from the attic. This time, he took his time getting dressed, savoring each moment. He slipped on a pair of silky stockings, relishing the way they hugged his legs. The skirt came next, followed by a fitted blouse that accentuated his slender frame. Andy dabbed on a bit of his mother's perfume, inhaling the delicate floral scent. Looking in the mirror, he barely recognized himself. Gone was the awkward, unsure Andy. In his place stood someone confident, radiant. He twirled, watching the skirt flare out around him. A glance at the clock told him he needed to leave for work soon. With a pang of regret, Andy changed back into his usual attire, jeans and a plain t-shirt. But as he headed out, he slipped the skirt into his work bag. Maybe, just maybe, he'd find a moment to wear it during his shift. At the small bookstore where he worked, Andy went through the motions of opening up, his mind elsewhere. As he sorted through a new shipment of novels, his co-worker Svenja arrived. "Morning, Andy. You look different today. New haircut." Andy touched his hair self-consciously. "No, same old me." Svenja tilted her head, studying him. "There's something, though. You're practically glowing." He felt his cheeks warm. "Just had a good night's sleep, I guess." As the morning wore on, Andy found himself gravitating toward the fashion and lifestyle section. He'd never paid much attention to it before, but now the glossy magazines called to him. During a lull in customers, he flipped through one, studying makeup techniques and clothing styles with newfound interest. "Since when are you into fashion?" Svenja's voice startled him. Andy slammed the magazine shut. "Oh, just curious, expanding my horizons." Svenja's eyes twinkled with amusement. "Uh-huh. Well, if you ever want tips, let me know. I used to work at a makeup counter." Andy's heart raced. Could he trust her? "Actually, Svenja, can I show you something?" She nodded, looking intrigued. Andy led her to the back room, his palms sweating. With shaking hands, he pulled the skirt from his bag. "I found this, and some other things, in my attic," he explained, his voice barely above a whisper. "And I like wearing them." Svenja's expression softened. "Oh, Andy, thank you for trusting me with this." She touched the fabric gently. "It's beautiful. Have you tried it on?" He nodded, unable to meet her eyes. "And how did it make you feel?" Like myself," Andy admitted. "For the first time ever." Svenja squeezed his arm. "That's wonderful, Andy. Really. And if you ever want to talk more about this or need any help, I'm here." Tears pricked at Andy's eyes. "Thanks, Svenja. That means a lot." As they returned to the shop floor, Andy felt lighter. Sharing his secret, even with just one person, had lifted a weight he hadn't realized he'd been carrying. The rest of the day passed in a blur. Andy found himself daydreaming about the clothes waiting for him at home, counting down the minutes until he could explore more. When his shift finally ended, he practically ran out the door. Back in his room, Andy emptied the contents of his work bag onto the bed. The skirt lay there, a vibrant splash of color against his plain comforter. He changed quickly, adding a different blouse this time and the heels he'd found in the trunk. Standing before the mirror, Andy felt a rush of euphoria. This was right. This was him. He practiced walking in the heels, stumbling at first, but quickly finding his balance. Each step felt like a small victory. A notification on his phone caught his attention. It was a message from Svenja. "Hey, a few of us are going out for drinks tonight. Want to join? No pressure, but thought you might like to chat more in a relaxed setting." Andy's stomach fluttered with nerves. Part of him wanted to stay home, safe in his cocoon of self-discovery. But another part yearned to be seen, to be accepted as his true self. Before he could second-guess himself, he typed back, "Sure, I'd love to. Where and when?" As he changed back into his regular clothes, Andy's mind raced. Could he incorporate any elements of his new style into his outfit for tonight? Would anyone notice? Would they care if they did? He settled on a compromise, his usual jeans, but paired with a softer, more flowing shirt he'd never had the courage to wear before. As a final touch, he dabbed on a hint of his mother's perfume. The bar was crowded when Andy arrived, the buzz of conversation and clinking glasses filling the air. He spotted Svenja at a corner table with their co-worker, Biene. "Andy," Svenja waved him over. "Love the shirt. It suits you." Biene nodded in agreement. "Yeah, it's different, but in a good way." Andy felt his cheeks warm as he slid into the booth. "Thanks. I felt like trying something new." As they chatted and sipped their drinks, Andy found himself relaxing. The conversation flowed easily, touching on work gossip, local events, and their personal lives. When there was a lull, Svenja gave Andy a meaningful look. "So, Andy, anything new and exciting in your life?" He took a deep breath, his heart pounding. "Actually, yeah, I've been exploring some things about myself." Bienne leaned in, intrigued. "Oh, like what?" Andy's fingers toyed nervously with his napkin. "I've been experimenting with different ways of expressing myself, through clothing, mostly." "That's awesome." Bienne's enthusiastic response caught Andy off guard. "I've always thought fashion was such a powerful form of self-expression." Svenja nodded encouragingly. "Andy showed me a gorgeous skirt he found earlier. The color was amazing on him." Andy's eyes widened. "You don't think it's weird?" Bienne shook her head emphatically. "Not at all. Gender expression is a spectrum, you know? There's no right or wrong way to be yourself." A wave of relief washed over Andy. He'd been so afraid of judgment, of rejection, but here were his friends accepting him without hesitation. "I'm still figuring it all out," he admitted, "but it feels right, like I'm finally being honest with myself." Svenja raised her glass. "To self-discovery and true friends." They clinked glasses, and Andy felt a surge of warmth that had nothing to do with the alcohol. For the first time in his life, he felt truly seen and accepted. As the night wore on, their conversation delved deeper into Andy's journey. Bienne shared stories of her own experiences with gender nonconformity, while Svenja offered practical advice on makeup and accessorizing. "You know," Bienne mused, "there's a great vintage shop downtown that might have some pieces you'd love. We should go sometime." Andy's eyes lit up. "Really? You'd go shopping with me?" "Of course," Svenja chimed in. "We could make a day of it. Try on outfits, grab lunch, it'll be fun." The idea of venturing out in public, exploring his new identity openly, both thrilled and terrified Andy. But with his friends by his side, it felt possible. As they said their goodbyes later that night, Andy felt a profound sense of gratitude. He'd taken a huge risk in opening up, but it had paid off beyond his wildest dreams. Walking home, Andy's steps felt lighter. The cool night air carried the promise of new beginnings. He found himself imagining future outings, no longer constrained by societal expectations of how he should look or act. When he reached his house, Andy paused on the front porch. Through the window, he could see his mother reading in her favorite armchair. A wave of emotion washed over him, love, gratitude, and a twinge of anxiety. How would she react if she knew? Taking a deep breath, Andy entered the house. "I'm home, Mom!" She looked up from her book, smiling warmly. "Did you have a nice time with your friends, honey?" Andy nodded, perching on the arm of the sofa. "Yeah, it was really great, actually. We had some good talks." His mother's eyes twinkled with something Andy couldn't quite read. "I'm glad. You know you can always talk to me too, right? About anything." There was a weight to her words that made Andy pause. Did she suspect something? Had she noticed the missing clothes from the attic? He studied her face, searching for any sign of judgment or disappointment, but all he saw was love and acceptance. "I know, Mom. Thanks." He hesitated, then added, "Actually, there is something I've been wanting to talk to you about." She set her book aside, giving him her full attention. "I'm listening, sweetheart." Andy's heart raced as he searched for the right words. "I've been exploring some new ways of expressing myself, through clothing and stuff. And it's made me realize some things about who I am." His mother nodded encouragingly. "Go on. I don't always feel comfortable in typical guy clothes," Andy continued, his voice barely above a whisper. "Sometimes I prefer other options." To his surprise, his mother's expression remained warm and open. "Like the items you found in the attic?" Andy's jaw dropped. You knew?" She reached out, squeezing his hand. "Honey, I've known you were different since you were little. I've just been waiting for you to figure it out for yourself." Tears welled up in Andy's eyes. "And you're okay with it?"
"Andy, all I've ever wanted is for you to be happy and true to yourself," his mother said, her own eyes glistening. "If wearing different clothes helps you do that, then I fully support you." Unable to contain his emotions any longer, Andy launched himself into his mother's arms. They held each other tightly, years of unspoken understanding flowing between them. When they finally pulled apart, Andy wiped his eyes. "Mom, can I show you?" She nodded, smiling through her own tears. "I'd love that." Heart pounding, Andy went to his room and changed into the outfit he'd put together earlier. The flowing skirt, silky blouse, and even a touch of lip gloss. Taking a deep breath, he returned to the living room. His mother's face lit up. "Oh, Andy, you look beautiful." Andy twirled, the skirt swirling around him. "I feel beautiful. For the first time in my life, I feel like me." They spent the next hour talking, Andy sharing his recent experiences and discoveries. His mother listened attentively, asking questions and offering support. She even dug out some old photos, showing Andy as a child experimenting with her makeup and clothes. "I always knew you were meant for something special," she said, gazing at the photos fondly. "I'm so proud of you for embracing who you are." As the night grew late, Andy yawned, the emotional intensity of the day catching up with him. His mother shooed him off to bed, but not before enveloping him in another warm hug. "Sweet dreams, my beautiful child," she whispered. In his room, Andy changed into his pajamas, carefully hanging up his new favorite outfit. As he climbed into bed, he felt a profound sense of peace. The journey ahead might not be easy, but he knew he had a strong support system to help him navigate it. Drifting off to sleep, Andy's dreams were filled with vibrant colors and endless possibilities. For the first time in his life, he felt truly free to be himself, in all his beautiful, complex glory. The next morning, Andy woke with a newfound sense of purpose. The world seemed brighter somehow, full of potential. He dressed carefully, choosing a subtle blend of masculine and feminine elements. His favorite jeans paired with a softer, more flowing shirt, and just a hint of mascara to make his eyes pop. As he headed downstairs for breakfast, Andy paused at the mirror in the hallway. The person staring back at him looked confident, radiant. He smiled, realizing that this was just the beginning of his journey. In the kitchen, his mother was already up, sipping coffee and scrolling through her tablet. She looked up as Andy entered, her face breaking into a warm smile. "Good morning, sweetheart. You look lovely today." Andy felt a rush of warmth at her casual acceptance. "Thanks, Mom. I tried something a little different." She nodded approvingly. "It suits you. Oh, and I was thinking, why don't we go shopping this weekend? I'm sure there are some things you'd like to add to your wardrobe." Andy's heart swelled with gratitude. "That would be amazing. Actually, my friends Svenja and Biene offered to take me to this vintage shop downtown. Would you like to come with us?" His mother's eyes lit up. "I'd love that. It'll be fun to see you with your friends, and I might find something for myself, too." As they chatted over breakfast, making plans for the weekend, Andy felt a profound sense of peace. The fear and uncertainty that had plagued him for so long were melting away, replaced by excitement for the future. After breakfast, Andy headed to work, a spring in his step. The bookstore felt different somehow, as if it too were full of new possibilities. He greeted Svenja with a warm hug, thanking her again for her support. "Anytime, Andy," she said, squeezing his hand. "How did it go with your mom?" Andy's face broke into a wide grin. "Better than I could have ever imagined. She knew Svenja. She's always known, and she's completely supportive." Svenja clapped her hands excitedly. "That's wonderful. I'm so happy for you." As they went about their workday, Andy found himself drawn once again to the fashion and lifestyle section. This time, he browsed openly, no longer afraid of being caught. He even helped a customer find a book on makeup techniques, sharing some of what he'd learned from his own experiments. During their lunch break, Andy and Svenja sat in the small break room, sharing a plate of cookies Svenja had baked. "So," Svenja said, a mischievous glint in her eye, "now that you're embracing your true self, have you thought about dating?" Andy nearly choked on his cookie. "Dating? I hadn't even considered it." Svenja patted his back, chuckling. "No pressure, of course. But you're glowing these days, Andy. People are bound to notice." The idea of dating, of putting himself out there in this new, authentic way, both thrilled and terrified Andy. "I wouldn't even know where to start," he admitted. "Well, when you're ready, we'll figure it out together," Svenja assured him. "There are plenty of people out there who will appreciate you for exactly who you are." As they returned to work, Andy's mind whirled with possibilities. He'd been so focused on his own journey of self-discovery that he hadn't considered how it might affect his romantic life. The thought of finding someone who could accept and love all aspects of him was both exciting and daunting. The rest of the week flew by in a blur of work, conversations with friends, and continued exploration at home. Each day, Andy grew more confident in expressing himself, incorporating subtle feminine touches into his everyday attire. Before he knew it, the weekend had arrived. Andy woke early, butterflies fluttering in his stomach. Today was the day of the shopping trip with his mother, Svenja, and Biene. He dressed carefully, choosing an outfit that felt like a bridge between his old and new selves. Comfortable jeans, a soft flowing top, and just a touch of his mother's perfume. As he headed downstairs, he heard voices in the kitchen. To his surprise, he found his mother chatting animatedly with Svenja and Biene. They all looked up as he entered, their faces breaking into warm smiles. "There he is," Biene exclaimed. "Ready for a day of fashion and fun?" Andy nodded, feeling a rush of affection for these amazing people in his life. "More than ready! Let's do this!" The vintage shop was a treasure trove of unique pieces. Racks of colorful garments lined the walls, and display cases glittered with vintage jewelry. Andy felt like a kid in a candy store, his eyes darting from one beautiful item to the next. With encouragement from his friends and mother, Andy began trying on outfits. Each new combination felt like a revelation, a chance to express a different facet of himself. He emerged from the dressing room in flowing skirts, fitted blazers, and even a stunning vintage dress that made everyone gasp. "Andy, you look incredible," his mother said, tears glistening in her eyes. "I've never seen you so happy." Svenja and Biene chimed in with their own compliments and suggestions, helping Andy put together outfits that felt true to his evolving style. They even convinced him to try on some bold accessories, a statement necklace here, a pair of daring heels there. As they browsed, Andy's mother pulled him aside. "I'm so proud of you, sweetheart," she said softly. "Watching you blossom like this, it's all I've ever wanted for you." Andy hugged her tightly, overcome with emotion. "Thanks, Mom, for everything." Thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out my other socials if you want more wonderful content, early access, behind the scenes, and more. All links down below.